everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on the final episode of Tsurune Season 2, Episode 13. I'm not gonna lie, I had watched up to Episode 12 a little while ago, and I've been holding off this episode, not only because I had other things I needed to get recorded, because I had just binged Tsurune, but I'd held off on this episode to catch up on other things, and then I was like, I really don't want it to end. I'm so sad. I was hoping that maybe by the time I got around to this episode and watching it, there'd be an announcement of season 3 or an OVA or a movie, and I haven't heard anything yet. All I know is that I need the Blu-ray stat. so I can watch all of this on my TV and everything and have a lot of fun with it. But I've really loved this series. This season's been amazing. I feel for anybody that likes sports anime, that likes slice of life, that likes anime in general and is just sleeping on this series, because this second season's been amazing. I have loved it from start to finish. I have looked forward to every single episode that's come out. I've been excited about it. Watching it week to week with y'all has been so much fun. And it's one of those series that I know when I sit down to watch it, it's going to give me the best feeling, right? And so I'm really sad that it's ending. So I've got plans that maybe around May and June, I'll be doing a lot of live streams to talk about series, especially since I'm ending a lot of series on my channel, or at least I've caught up with until I've reached an end point with them. There's Mob Psycho, there's Fire Punch, there's this series that have reached a somewhat end at the moment, whether we like to admit it or not. And so I definitely want to do a live stream about them. So I'll probably have a series of different days where I'm doing live streams. So I'll put out a thing on YouTube on the community post and a post on Patreon asking when people want those live streams. I'll probably ask Patreon when they think the live stream should be. And I'll put out some stuff around that time because I definitely want to talk about this show in more detail with you all now that once we'll have all the spoilers taken care of. So that will be exciting. Although I do know there's a light novel series that this is based off of. So if for some reason stuff is covered in the light novel that is not covered in the anime, I don't want to know about that, because that means there is a possibility they might adapt it, right? Maybe. So, but yeah, we'll definitely do a live stream to talk about this series at some point in the next month. So just be on the lookout for that. But I've got a couple comments, but I feel very bittersweet. I don't want it to end. I feel like I just started season 2. I don't want it to be over with, and here we are. So, I do have a couple comments. HBanana7 talked about how the shaman style actually has slanted bows. So the bow that Nikaido has is slightly slanted to go with the shaman style. And I'm like, that's really cool. Had no clue about that. So that was a good piece of information to know. KA said that Nikaido's aunt is played by the same voice actress as Katlia from Violet Evergarden. So more KyoAni alumni coming into voice. And then the voice actor for the uncle, Nikaido's uncle, is actually the same one as Twice from My Hero Academia. And I was like, that's why I like him so much, right? So Aaron and Wushin Suibin, though, had some really cool comments relating back to episode 11. Aaron was talking about how the water during the nationals competition, the water at Seiya's feet when they're against Sujimini, could represent and harken back to Fuwa's story about the Japanese archer who shot a flag while in a bobbing boat waiting for the perfect shot. And I was like, that's a really cool idea. I like that idea of what that water could represent. And then Wushin Suibin tacked onto that the idea that it could also represent the turbulence that Seiya is feeling, rocking the boat essentially. And then it's Minato that comes in and waits for the water to settle before he fires a shot and influences everybody else. So I thought that was really cool. I agree with both of those interpretations. I think they're both fabulous. I loved that. So thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Wushin Suibin, for giving those. And then Aaron followed up talking about how syncing up, we talked about Ikiai, and saying how syncing up is not all about matching, but also listening and responding dynamically. And that if you're in choir or any type of orchestral arrangement, you know how that works. And I have no musical experience whatsoever because my music program got cut from my Sujimini high school when I was in 7th grade. So So that's what you get. But yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I hadn't thought about it that way. So, our boys didn't achieve perfect Ikiai. Maybe they will if we do this summer festival. I've said the last episode might be the summer festival. We'll bookend it. Will they all do Ikiai then? Who knows? If they don't, then that's all the incentive we need to have a season 3. I'm just saying. There's lots of loose threads that I feel like if KyoAni wanted to, they leave themselves open to make a season 3. I really hope they do. I really hope they do like free, and they either make a season 3 or they make some OVAs or a movie or something, because I'm not ready to say goodbye to these boys at all. At all. I really am not. So we'll see though, right? So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I hope you all are too. But in any case, we are going to start Tsurune episode 13 of season 2, y'all, and just see what we get. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Aww. I'm not ready for it to be over. No! I'm not ready for it to be over. That's the thing about this episode. It felt almost like a cross between an OVA and, because the last episode felt like very much like, okay, this was the big climax of the season. This felt like the resolution. And it felt almost like an OVA at times, like because of the festival itself being a little bit like separate from the plot. But there was so much fan service, so many good moments. I wanted to go back because there were several parts I was like, I need to go back and see that again. But honestly, I guess if KyoAni did not want to do a season 3, they wouldn't have to. But there's so many plot threads that are still out there that have been like kind of neglected and not talked about. Like the whole thing with Saionji. I was convinced that Saionji and Nikaido and his uncle were gonna we're just gonna be able to reconcile, and we haven't gotten that yet. But the uncle's thinking about coming back and being the coach. So if that happens, will Saionji talk with the uncle if they do a season 3? Like there's lots of things. I feel like as we go through this episode and talk about what's going on, there'll be lots of little threads to kind of go through and be like, okay, well, this is what they could do if they decide to do it. So maybe, maybe they'll decide to do it. I don't know. I want them to do another season. I'm greedy with my Tsurune, and I want another season of it because they could do more. So I like that they've already done, it's the last week of summer break already, and they've been out, and the girl's like, don't you have stuff to do? And they're like, we've been practicing nonstop ever since nationals. We've been practicing. And they're like, I haven't finished my homework yet. I like that Tommy Sensei stops and they're like, I haven't even started my classic lit homework. Like Tommy Sensei stops, he's gonna say something, but then Kaido speaks up, and Kaido says, well, the smart thing to do is get that stuff out of the way first. And Tommy keeps walking. He was gonna say something to those boys, but then Kaido spoke up and he's like, no, they've got it. They've got it all separated out. It's fine. And they're like, the report we have on the classics is a major time sink. One of the lives of the aristocracy of the Heian period. And then I love Minato's face where he's like, what report? And Nanao's like, that's the face of somebody that had no clue about the assignment until just now. And I love Minato's like, wait, what? That's so good. That's so good. The face of someone who forgot we even had one. And I love his eye twitching oh my god. I love that his pupils actually grow where he's like, oh my god, I still have that report to do. What am I going to do? That is fabulous. I love that so much. And then Seiya's like, don't worry, boys. Seiya's like, I can be your angel and I can be your devil. He's like, I will help you all out. You guys will. But Seiya, he's like, Seiya is so much like Masa, it's not even funny. I'm just saying, because he goes, I'll help you both out. It's like, And they're like, oh, well, thanks, Seiya. Thanks a ton. And now it's like, well, that's childhood friendship for you. It's a little bit of nepotism. And he's like, now you'll owe me one. I'm like, that's a Masa move, Seiya. Masa just did that when he gave you the Tokiyaki. He gave you that food and then asked for something in return. Huh. Yeah, Seiya and Masa are so alike, it's kind of scary. He says, aren't you forgetting a certain something? And they're like, what else do we have to do? And he's like, remember that yakiniku that we had? Remember that? And I love that the animation say just goes, like it shows his eyes like drifting off, like he instantly realizes what it is while they're still processing. Seiya's already like 5 steps ahead. KyoAni they are masters of the most subtle animation possible, and it's so hilarious. The Heavenly Star Festival. And now it's like Nanao's turn for the big blown pupils. And I love that Minato and Nanao are like, oh yeah. And Kaido's like, oh yeah. And Seiya's like, I knew it. He was going to bring it back. They just wouldn't let it go without it, right? So yeah, get the OP. I love that OP. I love that we actually got the lyrics this time around. And they're so perfect. So the Yada Shrine, the Heavenly Star Festival, the ritual. All right, and they're putting all the lanterns up. They do bring up a good point. And at first I was like, why do they need the servant shirts if they're just showing up for the archery? Should have been foreshadowing. It's like, why would they need summer servant shirts if they're just showing up to do the archery ceremony? No, that wasn't Masa's thing. They're doing all the prep work for it, which is absolutely hilarious. The Masa's like, what? You guys thought you were just shooting arrows? Huh? To help set up the stalls and everything. Doing the prep with the target. Summer servant. I love it. And so, yeah, they're putting up all the lanterns and everything. I like to say is like, yeah, Masa really pulled one over on us this time. And Nanao's like, we'll just have to work with it and just let it go. It's fine. And then, of course, Minato goes immediately to the target that says demon. And then the girls showing up. They look so pretty. I love them in their outfits. I love, like, the beautiful lunch they've prepared with, like, the perfect tea set and perfect onigiri. I'm like, really? And their outfits look great. I like the contrast between they're in the red with the red bottoms and the white top, and they're in the blue. It's really pretty. Like, KyoAni knows its aesthetics. They nail it, right? They've taken 1 million selfies. I like that Kaido's like, well, how's it any different than what we're wearing? And now it's like, shh, you don't understand. You don't understand the nuances of this, right? And Minato has his like head in the clouds for so much of this series, but I love Minato's character because he's always thinking about things, but you can tell he's thinking about stuff, right? Like there's some characters in like Haru and Violet Evergarden in KyoAni, a series that are the protagonists, that they're very pensive, but sometimes it's hard to tell. With Minato, there's that air about him. Like you always know the gears are turning. He's thinking about something. He's trying to figure it all out. He's like, why are we shooting today in the first place? And they're like, because it looks cool? And they're like, no. Why would you think there'd be a whole ceremony for that? The shrine ceremony is to ward off misfortune. I feel like it's a nice thing of the whole ceremony is one, to get them to do like some final reflection. And also, I feel like Masa, there's a lot of facets into why he's making them do it. One, it's to like be like the last archery thing they do together for the season. 2, it's to like bring, ward off misfortune and bring good luck. 3, it's to let them have a chance to like let that ikiai like flow through them and like gear up for next year. And it's also let them like have this really cool bonding moment and something they'll remember despite like the loss or anything. And he talks about this with Rin here in a second. Is it something a bunch of high schoolers like us can even do? Yeah, because that's the thing about it too. Archers have always been the center of the ceremony at the Yada Shrine. And so Ma says with Rin there, it'll be good to help them switch gears now too. I like this kind of behind the scenes where Rin and Masa are sitting together talking about it. That Masa's like, this is good to do something a little outside their comfort zone and something to let them like switch gears from one year to the next, right? And Rin says, I plan to ask them all whether they won or lost. He's like, we should have said as much to begin with instead of roping them in over dinner. And he's like, I didn't want to throw off their concentration. Yeah, so he's like, I wanted to save this as like a last thing. I wanted them to focus on the tournament instead. He's like, I'm glad we'll get to shoot out there. Yeah, I like that Rin's like, you're so sly. Like, you planned this all out from the beginning. Like, you were wanting this to be like one final hurrah with these boys to like get them to reflect upon the year and feel good about themselves as they go into the next. It's like, yeah. And then they all get ready. The fan service starts from the moment that Ryohei's phone goes off. I was like, if that's Shu, and it is, like, I'm sorry. He's like, oh, see you there, Ryohei. And he's like, we just got to Yada Shrine. Like, what? What? I'm sorry, but yeah. Here's the thing. I mean, Seiya and Minato and Shu, besties forever. Bo bros for sure. But I'm just saying, did Shu invite Minato and Seiya over to sushi night? He did not. He invited Ryohei to sushi night, and that was it. Seiya's like, you're coming, right? And he's like, yes. I'm just saying. And then Seiya dipped out and went off and did his own thing and found Kaido on his own, just to hang out with Kaido. And then Minato ends up with Masa and the shrine at the end on the archery range. I'm just saying, if you ship Shu and Minato, I'm with you. I feel you. If you ship Shu and Seiya, I'm with you. I feel you. If you ship Shu and Ryohei, Minato and Masa and Kaido and Seiya, I am 1,000 times with you. Like the whole thing with Minato and Masa still makes me kind of go, there's an age difference. It's still weird. Teacher and student, no. But I'm like, Seonji kind of hinted at, like, they're going to play each other when they're adults. So whatever. And you know what? It could be like a banana fish sort of thing. I guess I don't want to say too much. Banana fish spoilers. I'm going to put a thing up here. Banana fish spoilers. In Garden of Light, in the epilogue, there's a thing about Sing and the little girl Akira, that they see each other when they're younger, and Akira's like in that kind of adolescent preteen age, and then her and Sing, she grows up and she ends up marrying Sing afterwards, like in one of the epilogue things. End of banana fish spoilers. But it reminds me of that, if you don't want to ship Shu and Ryohei, then maybe when Sei grows up, like way down the road, like when she's in her 20s and Ryohei's like nearly 30, who knows? If you ship Masa and Minato, then that's a possibility too, right? As long as Ryohei ends up in the Fua family, as long as he ends up in Shu's family, we're fine. In the Fujiwara family. I love that he says Roger with the seal. And then we have Kurosaki showing up. I love Shinichi and Manji's robes and how they're like the opposite colors. One's yellow with the red and one's red with the yellow. It's so freaking cute. I love it. The size of that thing, and they're doing like the sand. And so they're like, why does it say demon in the middle? And Shu's like, well, there's more to it than you think. It's not just demon. It's like the kanji is made up of the parts for self, other, and none. And I really think that's really cool, because you have yourself as the archer. You have the others, the people surrounding you that you influence and that influence you. And then you have none. The idea that there are no enemies, there's no one in your way, it's just you and the target. So I kind of like that. I like that it's broken up like that to kind of represent what Kyudo represents, right? It's really good. It's really good. Of how the way of the bow exists outside of competition. Yep. I love it. It's great. And then there they come. Yep. And then and of course Ryohei's like, Shu-kun! Like he's like first one to see them all. My shipper heart was so happy. I was like, yes, please. And then, of course, Kurasaki's shown up. And then I just like that Seiya is kind of amazed that Shu initiated all of this. I like that. It's so cool because throughout these last two seasons, both Seiya and Shu have kind of come out of their shells. Like Shu has gone from being this really reclusive, quiet person to being very talkative for him. And Seiya's gone from being this quiet, reserved person to like putting all the spice on here and being sassy and like speaking up and like being kind of trolly. And it's cool to see their personalities grow so much. It's really neat. I love it. And then I like that Ryohei makes a mistake. He's like, oh, that idol girl, what's her face? And Sase's like, oh, it is Noririn from Princess Cheer. Say her name. Like Sase's over there with the Kool-Aid in front of Ryohei, like, please drink this. And Ryohei is just nice enough that he's like, okay, I guess I will. Sure. And then we have this moment between Manji and Minato, where Manji is like, how did you get over target panic? Was it from the help of your friends? And they kind of talk it through and talk about how everyone kind of supported their form and just helped them get back to how it was. And I was like, I love that. I love that Minato and Manji went from season one, like nearly getting into a fight at the qualifier, to having this really sweet moment where they acknowledge each other's like target panic and talk through it. I like, what are we doing? I love it. It's great. And he's like, I was thinking back to our joint practice. Yeah. And of course, Sase is like having a go. I love that as Sase explains Nori-Rin, he's like, nothing can beat Nori-Rin's performance on stage. I love that Kaido's just like, Kaido and Seiya are like, we are supporting him the best that we can. I love it. It's great. He's like trying to get them to drink the Kool-Aid. And then the one guy, the one second year, that's a third year, and I forget his name. Not the one that looks like Connie, but the other one. They're already saying he's going to be the class president. That's really cool. I like that. So then, meanwhile, we have Tsujimini that only has 3 members, Odaguro, Fua, and Nikaido left. So they're going to have to do some recruitment. So that was my thing. We kind of have, with Kurosaki, the idea of Sase and Modokuro going on. And so we have the one guy in the brown yukata that could possibly be the club president. So there's that. But also, you have so much you could do with season 3 and Tsujimini. Like, I want to see Nikaido and Fua trying to recruit. I want to see like Nikaido, they convince him to try to use his charm on the girls and then it backfires and Fua has to like step in and put on the smolder. Like what would be amazing is I think it's unanimous among the fandom that everyone loves Fua and he has he has the smolder. But what if it's only to Nikaido? What if he's actually a dork? And girls don't like him at all. It's just Nikaido that it works on. That would be hilarious. Like, he tries to be schmoozy and the girls are like, no. And Nikaido's like, see, it's not so easy. Like, oh, what's this about me being a lady killer? It's like, that would be absolutely hilarious. But I wanted to see, like, because KyoAni puts 1,000 details into everything, I wanted to see the posters that they made and they put on the bulletin board. Like the club bulletin board. I love Fua's like, check this out. And then they walk on. If Nikaido is still in charge, they'll shape up quite well. Even if they get new members in, right? Even if they get members in. And it says, like, there's someone that looks kind of like Tommy Sensei and looks like the public speaking club. It says, Kyudo Club, looking for members. Beginners welcome. You won't find an outdoor Kyudo range anywhere else. That's great. And it's right next to the basketball club. Oh, well, they've got to compete with Kroko, so good luck to them. Oh my god, I love it. No need to worry. And then that's when Minato, bless his heart, it's just like things hit him in waves. And he's like, oh, Motomura and Sase will both be gone too. And I like that they both kind of hint that they're like, we're going to be roommates in university together. I like Motomura and Sase are like, we're actually just going to stay roommates. Nothing's changing. It's fine. We're all good, right? And so then, yeah, that whole detail in the sand is so pretty. We'll keep at it at university. Yeah, because they want to keep playing them. They're going to keep playing and doing Kyudo tournaments. So you could have lots of things. You could have an episode like when the girls did their tournament, like the fun one. You could have like an outdoor where they meet Sase and Modokura as college students. There's so many possibilities. Like ever since KyoAni did Free, it's like you can do so much beyond just the high school setting. And KyoAni is not afraid to do that. It's great. So then they ask Shu about how he knew about this, and Ryohei's like, oh, I told him. And I like that Shu's like, yeah, I found out from Ryohei. And so then Shu is the master of getting the date going. Because just like in season 1, where like all the stuff with Sase was going on, and Shu looked at Minato and was like, let's go over here and like talk. Like here he goes, oh, hey, my sister wants to see you. Do you just the two of us, you want to go? Conveniently did not invite Seiya and Minato to that group meeting. They were like, hey, we're going to go see my sister with Ryohei. Like, just left without Seiya and Minato. Freaking hilarious. I was like, oh my god. Like, other boys are not allowed. They just take off. And yeah, they just go. And they're like, oh, see ya, I'll be back. See ya. And he's like, I'm craving a chocolate banana. And I like this Seiya just has this look on his face like, oh. Like just, it's a very like, oh, they're going off to hang out together. Like it was just one of those looks. But also, beyond just the shipping part, it is Seiya realizing that Shu has come out of his shell and has become a much more open, communicative person. Like, I mean, that's the real hint of it. It just, in our shipper minds, it equals something else. I was like, if they bought candy apples for each other, I was going to lose my mind. Like, because the two on the date buy candy apples for each other, and then you cut back to Ryohei and Shu. If they bought food for one another, I would have lost it. Would have lost it. And then he mentions his sister. But that's kind of what happens here, is that the little kids are sharing something with one another, and that's like a token of affection. And then what does Ryohei do? He shares something with Shu about his sister, and it's like a token of affection. I'm like, the fan service. And then his sister, he says that she never went to high school, but she passed the test for her graduate. She like got her GED, like certification. And she looks like Ryohei so much. Like she has like the big smile and everything. She felt motivated after watching me at nationals. She looks just like him. It's so cute. I love that so much. And Ryohei saying like, it felt nice for my work to inspire others. And she was just like, this is why I love you. And so, yeah, they talk about how Shu seems different. And Minato was like, well, he's kind of always been like that. He just seems more like himself out in the open. And I like that Minato relates it back to Kyudo. He's like, oh, well, he's found his ideal Kyudo form and wants to keep moving forward. And Seiya's like, yeah, he's found his ideal Kyudo form. He's found his ideal form indeed. Just like, sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Seiya's like, oh, sweetheart. And then Minato, because he's the most innocent being, he's like, oh, I should probably go congratulate him. And I like that at first Seiya was like, should we interrupt their date? Should we really? And then all Minato has to do is look back at him with those big doughy green eyes, and Seiya's like, okay, fine. Fine, we'll go. And then we cut to Nanao and Kaido. And I like Nanao and Kaido doing the game to try to win the frog and the cat balloons, which are perfectly encompassing them. And I like they talk about the shoot-off that happened earlier in the season. That seems like forever ago. The shoot-off seems like forever ago. But it was like right there in the middle, right? And he talks about, with Kaido, about how much they've changed. Like, your form has changed a lot. And they kind of acknowledge how each other have grown over the course of this season and how they've influenced each other. And it's just a really sweet moment. And then there's little baby Haru over there getting his thing, right? This has all been happening in the universe, just so we know. It's really cute. I like KyoAni just did that. And he's like, and then I like that Kaido and Nanao both not only acknowledge each other's strengths, but acknowledge that they've helped each other along the way. Like, they're still rivals. They're still trying to outdo each other. But they acknowledge that they've really helped each other to grow along the way. And that's beautiful, right? So beautiful. It's great. And then, yeah, they both like go to get the cat toy, and then it just drops down into the water. They're all tangled up, the cat and the frog balloons. I like that the little boy that kind of looks like Haru, him and the little girl are the ones that Ryohei saw earlier. Like, they're just going around making the world tour and seeing everyone. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, one more round. So cute. Yep, trying to get them both. But man, Sei, unlike Nanao and Kaido, Sei has like the best luck. Like, she wins a damn sushi conveyor belt kit. Like, girl is lucky. The bow that was drawn when she was born must have been like echoing to the mountains, because she's like the luckiest little kid. I love it. I love that Shu just hangs out with her and plays the ring toss game. Like, you know, Ryohei should just hang out with Shu all the time and the family. You know, just become part of the family. Marry their son. Just become part of the Fujiwara family. He should. And yeah, she wins a damn sushi conveyor belt. I want to win that. I love her yukata. It's so cute with the cat toys and the thing on it. It's great. And then Shu's like waving from a distance. Come on. And then while she was waiting, it is very convenient that Minato and Seiya show back up with the sodas, hearkening back to their middle school days. And yeah, she wins this damn sushi. What does it say on there? Restaurant experience for home. The ultimate conveyor belt sushi set. Includes 8 plates. Like, that's a damn good gift. And I joked, I was like, oh, well, she's never been to a sushi conveyor thing because her family owns a sushi restaurant. They literally do. They literally do. He's like, oh, you pretend you got your own sushi go round, shop at home. And she's like, why would sushi spin around? And he's like, oh, well, and then I like the butler goes, she's only ever had sushi at a restaurant with long ties to the Fujiwara family. Like they have their own private sushi place they go to. They don't need the conveyor belt. That's absolutely hilarious. And Ryohei's like, oh, okay then. Swimming pools and movie stars. He's like, and he explains it what it is to her. I like that Ryohei is not thrown off by how bougie Shu's family is. Like, Shu's family is highly bougie. And I like that Ryohei just takes it in strides. He's like, oh, okay, well, then I'll explain what the sushi train is. Like, he just isn't fazed by it. And her face, when she's like, a sushi on trains, like, she's just, her eyes are glimmering. It's so freaking cute. And he's like, well, you should give it a try at home. It's really fun. And she goes, we'll have you over for a sushi party then. And she will be the chef. I was like, can we just have an OVA that is the sushi party? At this point, I'm like, yes, please. I want this to happen. And then he's like, sure, it sounds like a plan. He's good at making takoyaki, so I bet he'll make great sushi too. KyoAni, just keep it coming. And did you hear that? And he says, I'll give it a try. Again, didn't say, come on over, Minato and Seiya. Didn't offer the invite. Was just like, I guess I'll just do my sushi party with Ryohei then. Gah! And then they talk about his dad, right? And we find out that they've started, thanks to Sei talking more, and thanks to Ryohei, that they've started talking more at home. And he finds out that his family does have some really big ties to Kyoto. And that there's a ceremony called the Meijin ceremony where they just shoot off a bowstring without an arrow and let it ring. And we see it happening at the shrine. It's so cute. Like Baby Shu with the sound of the Tsurune is supposed to ward off evil and let the child grow healthy and strong. And there's baby Shu, freaking precious. Like, his eyes opening up when the Tsurune sounds. Come on. So damn good. It's been a family tradition for generations, apparently. Bows supposedly possess special power. And Minato's like, makes sense to me. Because Minato knows about the Tsurune too. I like that, again, if you ship Shu and Minato, there's this connection they have with their bows, with the Tsurune, with their family ties to Kyoto. It's just great, right? I love it. It echoed through his soul. And I like that Shu points out how he did, like he says it can be tough out there when we all stand alone, but we're not really alone. And they all say it together. And then Minato's face when he smiles and says, are you guys my backup singers? It's so cute. Like the animation, all of this, they're bow bros. Bow bros for life. They have their own other ships, but bow bros. And then, yeah, Seiya, Minato, now getting caught up with the fan club, just conveniently, so Seiya can walk with him. And at first I was like, oh, well, Seiya says, oh, no, it's fine. You're more likely to cause a scene. I gotta keep an eye on you. I'm like, that is flirtatious conversation, sir. That is flirtatious. Flirtatious indeed. You did not have to phrase it like that. Because Kaido's like, I don't need anybody to take care of me. And Seiya's like, oh, well, I'll just watch over you. I'll keep an eye on you on the house. I'm like, that is a flirt. That is hardcore flirting, Seiya. How dare you? So then, yeah. And so they all go around. And then Otaguro has this plan, right? We got to Otaguro. He's like, you two go around and pull the new kids in. And once they're here, I'll serve them up sushi. I'm like, dude, you would have had me on that archery team in 5 seconds if you promised me sushi. If you were like, join Kyoto and get sushi, I'd be like, yes, this will work. And he's like, and as they've had their fill, we'll bust out the club entry forms. Otaguro is a buff dude. Like, KyoAni makes him buff as hell. And then I like these, like, bingo. Good thinking, Otaguro. And Kaido's like, no, we don't want people that are just here for free food. We want serious competitors. No one's going to join the club like that. And I like Fuwa's like, I'm going to egg him on because it's fun and it's trolling. And he's like, round up some girls too. And Kaido's like, are you even listening? This is all boys club. I love it. And then he might not look it, but this guy's pretty popular with the ladies at work. Fuwa is just an instigator. Fuwa is dangerous. Fuwa will lead them on and instigate. I'm like, sirs, good sirs. Yeah, he's like, I am not. And how we even pay for sushi anyway? And that's when they say Zaki-san, the club sponsor, would do the fishing. And I like that he stands up. Oda girl will work for free. And his uncle says, I'll give the whole coach thing a good thinking over. And just the look on Nikaido's face is so wonderful. Like his uncle thinking about being their coach. And then him smiling, and when he turns around, he's like, how about it, Nikaido? Sounds like the perfect plan to me. And he's like, you guys are morons. Oh, I love his face. His face. It's so beautiful. I was like, oh, Nikaido. He's like, you guys are bakas, but we'll make it work. Aww. So did they watch the tournament? Did they watch the ceremony, or were they just hanging out, getting food? Right? Did they even watch? I don't know. I want to see, like, when we cut back to them with and they got to use their own bows. They all have the nice matching ceremonial outfits, right? KyoAni, the attention to detail is just stunning. And then Masa does, it feels very ceremonious. It feels very spiritual, right? And you can see on the crowd there, you can see Ryo, Nanao, and Kaido's sisters. And there is also Ryohei's sisters somewhere in there too, right? So I want to see if we have all the different things up there for the shrine, like the food and everything and the fish. The archery ceremony begins. And then Masa starts by reading the scriptures there. Reflect on this prayer via the sacred bow. So I like that Sei is just like bouncing in her seat, and we see Shu's parents, right? And then we see Nanao and Kaido's sisters, who look just like them. It's great. Wise and practice virtue shall unleash. And then Rin's taking pictures. We see Tommy Sensei and the guy that runs the shop, dispelling all evil and wickedness and breaking free from the cycle of life and death. We see all of Kurosaki there watching. We see Ryohei's sister there too, next to Seiya's dad. Dispelling all evil and wickedness and breaking the cycle. And then, yep, they're there. Here and now, this holy bow and arrow shall ward off all twisted desire. So good. And then, yeah, just seeing all of them together and just being for good fortune, and then them all standing up, and the animation, them taking off. The moment they show like Masa's bicep, like they had to do a close up on one, and Masa was the legal legit one to do. But KyoAni, you just give us that fan service. Give us that pec and bicep. We will take it. I'm just like, And our boys, they looked like, especially Kaido, when Kaido's bangs are pushed back, he looks so much older. Our boys look like men. It's so sweet. Like, if they ended on this ceremony, it would be all right, because they do the shouts, and they go through the first time they do the shouts, and the second time they go through and talk about each thing and how it relates to them. And you have Kaido that talks about how the bow works, right? So we have Kaido. They talk a little bit about the Japanese bow, and then they say Kyudo is a sport which the tools have remained the same, but the technique has evolved alone. And I love that you have Kaido. They all reflect on different things, right? As they're about to shoot. They all sit there and reflect. We don't get to see what Masa reflects on. That's the one thing that I wish we could have gotten seen, was Masa doing a little more reflecting, but it's about the boys, so what can we do? But I like that Masa shoots his arrow. It goes through, and then we see each of their journeys as the arrow like slings, and we see Kaido, like, he says, just let it out already. You got thrown off of your rhythm. Like, we see him and now working, them having their scuttle, them like Seiya and them influencing each other. Let's go with your rhythm then. And then we see Ryohei. He fires off the arrow, and as it flies, we see him like practicing to make his targets better, like him worrying, him grabbing the bow at Shu's house, of course at Shu's house, and then saying that a miss is a miss, and then Shu telling him that it was an earnest and positive shot. It was nothing to be ashamed of. I'm like, Shu influencing him in that moment. Come on. And then Seiya seeing like him and Minato, showing Minato the video, him with Kaido, him walking with Shu and Minato there, and then getting inspired at Nationals. So good. Always so far ahead. Like Seiya being like, I've still got a ways to catch up, but it's gonna be all right. I can do it. And then now we cut back to him, and it flashing before his eyes, and him facing up to Kaido, and them having their moment, him talking with Minato about it, saying, you're not the only one who wants to win. I want to beat you. And then him and Kaido and their friendship and rivalry. And then Minato, his eyes like a target, becoming the big blooming flower. Yep. It's so good. And then, yeah, the bow, everything, it's so perfect. And then him seeing his mother and that tie back to her. And then I love his eyes softening there at the very end. Like once the Tsurune hits. It's so good. So good. And so Tommy Sensei asked how it felt taking part in the festival. And saying like, you did it in your own style. That's great. And then we see, I love Nanao's one sister so tiny. And we see Kaido with his sister. And it's just like, I love to see Ryohei with, it's not Seiya's dad, it's Minato's dad, sorry. It's Minato's dad, and Seiya and Ryohei with him. Yep, and then the girls all together afterwards. And then, of course, Minato goes back to Masa's shrine. Yep. And then him thinking about how Kyoto's a journey and the people we meet. It's not about the journey. It's about the friendship made along the way. The real Kyoto story is about the friendships made along the way, right? And Masa just giving him the head pat like, when you're 10 years older. It's just so good. And I'm not ready for it to be over. And when they all like waved goodbye to him and said thank you, it just like, they said catch you later, which doesn't feel like the end, but it could be the end. So, there's a part of me that like wants it to keep going for them to do a third season. There's so much they could expand upon, so much they could focus on, like especially with Sujimini and their whole struggles with their uncle and recruitment. But it's one of those things where the show perfectly encapsulates it to where if this was the end, it does feel satisfying. I like that it's kept open-ended enough that we can write fan fiction, we can speculate, we can do all sorts of things to say what would they do afterwards. But I really hope they at least do something else with Tsurune because I'm not ready to give it up. Not at all. Nope. But this was such a good episode. Like I said, I'll probably plan a live stream at some point and we'll do a talking about it then and go over it then. But we'll see. We get to live stream. We'll talk about Tsurune and hopefully how it can move forward. I hope so anyway, and when the movie comes out on streaming, even if the movie is a complete recap of season 1, I've heard the animation is new. I want to see it. So whenever the movie comes out, we'll have to check it out. So, but this season's been so good and I've absolutely loved it. And I can't wait to hear your thoughts down below. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care. And yes, I'll be back. We'll do a live stream to talk about season 2 of Tsurune very soon. And in the meantime, I'll see you all with more reactions.